And open up the meeting, call the meeting to order of the Community Redevelopment Agency at 4 o'clock.
Chair Burns,
Here.
Vice Chair Markert,
Here.
Commissioner Carney,
Here.
Commissioner Casal, here, and Commissioner Long.
Here.
Okay, can I get approval of the agenda, please? A
Can I pull
motion.
one item from consent, 7E?
7E.
Yes, thank you.
Okay, so that will be, we'll move that to
That would go to
8.
8AA,
8AA.
correct.
Are there any other changes?
No, I move that we approve the agenda as amended.
Second.
Vice Chair Markert,
Yes.
Commissioner Carney,
Here.
Commissioner
I mean,
Casal.
yes.
Yes. Commissioner Long,
Here means yes. Just
Right.
in case I do it a second time.
I'm also here, and yes.
and Chair Burns.
Yes. Okay, I think we have a presentation by the CPA. Yes.
Does anyone need copies of the report
I think we
made
have.
on it?
We all have the copies.
This is it. Ready to go?
Yeah.
You guys all set? Okay. Okay, everyone all set? Okay, good afternoon, board. My name is Scott Montgomery. I'm with CBIZ Director, and I'm here to present the audited financial statements for the Delray Beach CRA as of the fiscal year ended September 30th, 2024. And so these are a few months back, probably about 7 months back. And we issued our report on March 27th, 2025, where that was all sent to the board, with the financial statements and also with the communication letter that's required by auditing standards. So just if you have the report with you, or I can just highlight, our independent auditor's report is on page 1, and that first paragraph tells what we audited, the financial statements of the government activities, the major fund, and the discretely presented component unit for the fiscal year ended September 30th, 2024, and the related changes in financial position and notes. And the second paragraph is the most important, where we say the company financial statements present fairly in all material respects. The financial position of the government activities, the major fund, and discretely presented component unit as of the year end, and the changes in those balances. And this is referred to as a unqualified or unmodified opinion, or sometimes people call it a clean opinion. And what that means in layman terms is there's it's free of material misstatements and presented in accordance with the accounting principles, which for this statement is government accounting standards, Government Accounting Standards Board pronouncements, GASB. And also, we audited in accordance with generally accepted accounting principles. And basically, that means there's no concerns about the financial statements or the accuracy, and they're reliable. And you can use these to make informed decisions. Then if you jump to page 4, that's the management discussion and analysis, and this is actually prepared by management, and that gives a broad overview of the statements and explanations for the year-over-year changes. If probably anything to read, these couple pages would be probably the most informative. If you jump to page 13, the statement of net position, this is the balance sheet, and this is on a full accrual basis, so it also has long-term assets, the capital assets and the liabilities. So this would be equivalent to a balance sheet in the commercial world, and if you notice, I guess the biggest items the CRA has is cash of about 72 million, and that actually increased from about 55 million the year before. It increased about 17 million, and that's more for the buildup of future community improvement projects and economic development and redevelopment within the city. So I guess overall you'll see that there were projects slated when we get to the budget that have been carried over, didn't get utilized because of timing. The next biggest item on the statement of net position is the capital assets, and you have about 32 million of capital assets not being depreciated, of 32 million, and then depreciable capital assets net is about 12 million. And the capital assets represent mostly land improvements, redevelopment property. They have a long list of the properties that you guys own and are redeveloping. And then lastly, liabilities, about 2.8 million. That decreased from about 7.1 million the year before. And during this year, the CRA paid off the Series 2012 bonds and the Series 2015 bonds. They were at their last year. And then also they paid off a loan to the city. It was a U.S. Highway 1 loan. So those are all disclosed or shown in Note 11. And then this is a statement in net position, meaning the assets on the top, and then subtract out liabilities, and then you end up with equity or net position of about 118 million. And out of that, 44 million is invested in capital assets. That's from above your capital assets, so that can't really be utilized. And then the remainder, 74 million, is unrestricted, which is available for utilization. If you go to page 14, the statement of activities, this is equivalent to the full accrual profit and loss statement, and it starts with expenses. You had about 11.4 million of expenses, and for governmentals they start with expenses in this format because the government's primary function is for activities and services, so they feel that's most important. And then you'll see the program revenues, and in terms of the most significant revenue for you guys is the tax increment revenues. That was about 36 million, and that's about midway down the page there. And that actually increased about 4.3 million from the prior year. And it was due to increase in valuations of the property in the CRA area. It was actually, I think, property values increased about 542 million or 17%. And this is actually going back to 23 and this is 24, so it might be different now. But and then also, in terms of valuation, the occupancy rate is still very high in the downtown area and attractive and strong. So economically, a very strong CRA. And then I'll just briefly, the next page 15 is the government balance sheet. This is similar to the other page, statement of net position, but this is on a near term or more like a budgetary basis. This is modified accrual. So you'll see it has the same balances as the other page, but it doesn't have any capital assets or any debt. And then if you, in terms of on the governmental fund, you had fund balance of about 74.5 million. And then in terms of this, 69 million is restricted for community development. And then if you jump to page 17, and I'm skipping some pages, there are some reconciliations that go from the fund level to the government wide level on those pages in between. They just show how the numbers flow. But on page 17 is your statement of revenue, expenses, and changes in fund balance. And as mentioned, the biggest item is the tax increment revenues, and the 36.3 million. There's about a 4.3 million increase from the prior year. Same explanation from before. And then in terms of your expenditures, the biggest area is economic development, and that was about 9.2 million. And then capital outlay is about 5.1 million. That's for buying, land or redevelopment, that type of thing. The net change in fund balance was about 20.4 million for this year. And then I was gonna jump to page 49, or actually 47. This was the budget comparison schedule. And then if you look kind of at page, say, page 49, like under area and neighborhood plans, the West Atlantic Avenue redevelopment, you can see the original budget was about 9.4 and the final was about 385,000. So there's a big decrease. And then same with like under other, in terms of the Pompeii Park master plan. Originally was budget for 40 million, but it hasn't been spent yet. So if you go to page 52, in summary, the expenditures were about 80 million in the original budget, and then final amended budget was about 17.1, and your actual expenditures was 16,978,000. So you had a positive overall variance to final budget of about 100,000. And then lastly, if you jump to page 59, this is our independent auditor's report on financial reporting and compliance. And the last paragraph on 59, we had no material weaknesses or significant deficiencies reported. And if
That's super. Thanks, Renee.
yep, and Renee did a great job this year.
Ladies, sorry.
And then our report on compliance and other matters on page 60, there were no compliance findings, so no instances of non-compliance either with laws, contracts, grants, or regulations that we noted. And the very last page is page 65. That was our independence report on compliance with the investment statute. And you guys don't really have significant investments, just Florida Prime, and there was no issues. Everything was in compliance there. And just want to thank Gina and Renee, and they were really prepared, and everything was provided very timely, and they had everything ready to go, and we had no real issues. It was a very smooth audit. And subject to anyone's questions.
Okay, thank you for your presentation. Are there any questions?
I just had one, and
sir?
forgive me. When we go to page 54, where we talk about the OPEB, the number, the CRA's proportionate share, both percentage and amount of liability, has gone down substantially from 2021,
Yep.
which is good.
Right. I guess This is calculated, actually, OPEB, the city hires an actuary to do the OPEB calculation. And then they carve out 3 pieces. They do a city calculation of the liability, and then the
Right.
CRA calculation of the liability, and then the DDA, Downtown Development Authority. So we take that report and present
Just
this.
extract
But
everything.
I think why it went down, I think in the early years, I think maybe it was calculated
Gotcha. Yeah.
by trying to calculate it, because I don't think it was included in the cities. And then we suggested going forward, the actuary
To have
should
it be
just
accurate.
calculate all 3 pieces, because I think if you look at the DDA, it was similar in terms of going down. And I think it was because the actuary, this is their calculation. It could be also due to either favorable underlying
Okay. Thank you.
conditions. But
I would also say thank you, Renee. It's nice when we had that small finding and it was corrected, and I appreciate you and your staff. Thank you.
Are you finished?
Yes, thank you.
Commissioner Long? You have any-
Yeah, just thank you for the presentation.
Okay.
Great work, everyone. That's all I
Thank you.
got. No questions.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Mayor?
Thank you.
Thank you very much. It's a good presentation. I always find it interesting when you look back at the base year of 1985 that the values of the property were $245,000, and we're now looking at $3.5 billion in the increase in property values in the CRA area since 1985.
Okay, thank you. Commissioner Margaret?
Nothing other than thank you very much. Very thorough. Appreciate it.
And for me, thank you as well. It's always great to have a clean report. Thank you. Okay. The next thing on the agenda is the public comment. Do we have, where are we?
Oh, no, they took that
Oh, we took that off.
Oh.
Thank you. Public comment.
Hello, everybody. I hope you're all doing well. Marjorie Waldo, representing Arts Garage this afternoon. The arts are in danger. I wish I meant that metaphorically, but legislation threatens to eliminate nearly all funding for arts, culture, and tourism promotion. What's being proposed in Tallahassee is a threat to community, to connection, and to expression. This doesn't just risk dollars. For Arts Garage, nearly $200,000 annually. It risks the soul of our communities. If you've never heard of House Bill 7033 or House Bill 1221, you're not alone. These bills are quietly advancing through the House and propose an overhaul of how bed taxes, tourist development taxes, are used. These taxes, which are paid for by hotel visitors, have funded arts programming, beach renourishment, special events, sports facilities, and tourism promotion throughout the state. At Arts Garage, our mission is clear: to connect our community to the world through the arts. From our family series for students in Title I schools to our series for seniors on limited incomes and arts education for scholarships for children, our impact stretches far beyond the stage. Arts institutions across Florida will suffer, not because we failed our communities, but because the House wants to redirect bed tax funds away from arts and culture entirely. This is just not only financially short-sighted, it's culturally devastating. The House is pushing to dissolve tourist development councils. This loss of bed tax revenue would effectively gut local investment in the quality of life and tourism. Organizations like ours stand to lose millions. Institutions across Florida are folding to pressure to remove diversity, equity, inclusion, and access programming and policies. Recently, the Palm Beach County School District, faced with the threat of losing $300 million in state funding, hastily approved policy changes to prevent, quote, imminent danger to the health, safety, and welfare posed to the public. This is censorship, This is censorship masked as policy, and forces nonprofits like Arts Garage into a heartbreaking choice. Accept government funding and silence parts of your mission, or reject funding and risk massive budget cuts. But there is another way to preserve access to the arts for everyone, and that is with education and action. We ask that you speak up, talk to your friends, colleagues, your colleges too, and your neighbors. Act. Contact your local legislators and urge them to oppose these two bills. Your voice matters. Join us. Arts Garage will keep you informed and prepared to respond. If these bills pass, it will be too late. Funding and programs will disappear, and the rich cultural landscape that defines Delray Beach and all of Florida will grow dimmer. 2 sentences. Our board has voted unanimously to stand firm in our mission, even if it costs us. Please stand with us, spread the word, raise your voices, and help us make a difference while we still can. Thank you so much.
Could I ask
Oh,
Ms.
can I give
Waldo
you
a question? Ms.
Yes.
Waldo, are you having a fundraiser next month?
We are. We are having, Blue Ivy Communications is sponsoring Fundraiser in Paradise, featuring the Coral Rummer Band, which is a Jimmy Buffett tribute. And it will raise money specifically for places, our summer camp, where historically, for the last 6 maybe years, we've provided scholarships for between 65 and 95% of the students who apply. We don't want to say no to anybody who wants to participate. Can I give you some homework? Because I really don't think you read a lot. And it would be great if you take a second. Good.
Thank you.
Margie, I just want to thank you for your statement. Very well said. I've been following this bill too. I sit on the TDC for the county, and so we're very, very concerned about this bill. I wouldn't be opposed to the city maybe sending a letter. Maybe that's something we could talk about. It's getting a little late in the game for that, though. Where is it at on the Senate side? Have you been following it? Because that's like our gleaming hope for this CRA bill is that the Senate's more reasonable and slows it down, and they just can't reach an agreement right now because we're kind of at the end.
The articles I just gave you are from today. So it is changing every hour.
Yeah.
Right? What I understand to be the case is that the House wants an extreme destruction,
Yep.
elimination of all tourist development councils. The Senate modifies that a little and wants to make a referendum that the voters, you and I, choose every 8 years whether we want to consider this bed tax. The irony of that is that our dollars don't pay for this tax. The tourist dollars
Right.
in hotels funds this, and hotels asked for the tax to pass along to their clients that stay with them.
Yeah, it's weird.
Who knows what it'll be? There's lots of things on the floor, and they're going to, I heard today, they're going to extend the session on, I don't know how long, because of budget talks, and part of this is there. I know part of the motivation is property taxes, but I mean, there was talk of eliminating property tax, which would devastate our town, right? They're not going to be able to pull that off. It would happen to all municipalities. There is also talk of using these dollars instead of, I don't know what happens. If you destroy the tourist development councils, do you continue to accept the bed taxes and then you give a rebate with those dollars to homeowners of $1,000? There's all these bizarre angles coming at this law. It's not too late to put pressure. I sent an email out last week with the names of the legislators that you could contact. And a form letter that you could copy and paste literally takes 2 seconds. If you're willing, we'd love it. If you're willing to do it as a CRA, we'd love it. So I'm going to be here a lot, I think. I've been absent a lot for a couple of years now because my mom passed away, and I was helping before she did. I'm back to annoy you as often as I can. So thank you for always listening to me.
Thank you.
Okay.
I think we should talk about this on Tuesday.
Thanks.
Okay, all right, thank you. So we need to get a motion for the consent agenda?
I move the approval of the consent agenda.
Commissioner Carney,
Yes.
Commissioner Casal, Commissioner Long,
Yes.
Chair Burns,
Yes.
and Vice Chair Margaret.
Yes.
I forgot we do a roll call here. Okay. All right, so we are moving on to the regular agenda. 8A. Renee?
Oh,
You got AA.
AA
first.
yes.
7C.
All right, so let's go to,
I just pulled that because it involves Mr. Duty and a slight increase, and I wanted to say that I'm super supportive of that increase and thank him. I was at the CRA trial for BH3, and Renee will tell you guys about it. But I wanted to say thank you to Mr. Duty, because many people may not know that he was instrumental in getting us to the place where we were successful, because as we traversed that situation for years as a board, his oversight and guidance was super helpful. So I thank you, and I'm thrilled to incorporate this small increase.
I can say is a lawyer is only as good as his or her client.
Ah, I don't know about that.
Any amens over here?
Are you asking us to each put in our 20 cents to cover the dollar award? I mean, just curious.
No, sir. I think the CRA, based on your audit, you can afford it.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
Good news. Good
All
news.
right, yes.
I'll make a motion to approve the Second Amendment to the Legal Services Agreement.
Second.
Commissioner Casal,
Yes.
Commissioner Long,
Yes.
Chair Burns,
Yes.
Vice Chair Markert,
Yes.
and Commissioner Carney.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay. Now to old business, item 8A.
Yes, all right, thank you very much. Nate Jadison, Executive Director. So this is the Redevelopment Advisory Committee term review. So we had this on our agenda for last month because our guidelines basically say that 3 months before the expiration of the first RAC term, the CRA, shall put this on the agenda for the board to discuss how we would like to proceed. Because I think you recall in the beginning of this discussion, we were doing this to see how it would go for the year. Last month, we thought it would be better to move this to April because we didn't have all of the reports from the members at that time. So right now, we've sent you all 4 of the 5 reports. We have one more meeting that is on June 26th, and then that would be the end of the term. The focus area really for this group was West Atlantic. We had them looking at ideas for the 600, 700, 800 blocks, which is actually on our agenda to discuss, and the general sketches that we had asked to be done last year for all of our properties on West Atlantic. So that's pretty much was a very narrow focus scope. So, and the term is up after the June meeting. So it is for the board to discuss how you'd like to proceed with this group. So I'll turn it over to you all.
Okay, anybody want to start? Rob?
So far, based on the presentations we've seen from this group, I think it fills a pretty substantial need that we have to cultivate community input and then present it to us in an organized way. And I look forward to continuing to get those types of reports. And so I'm going to be in favor of continuing this. I think it was a good idea. I think it's fulfilling the goal that we had in mind whenever we, had the idea to have an advisory board for the CRA.
Okay, thank you. Commissioner Casal?
Are the people, we don't interact with them in their meetings. Are they enjoying it? Are they committed? Do they want to continue?
Well, it seems that they are. I think if we continue, we'd have to reappoint. I have to look at the guidelines to see and task them with something different.
And we need to task them with something.
Well, right. The way it's structured is the CRA board has to give the guidance of what they'd like input on. So if you would want to continue it, we'd have to go through the process of, I believe, reappointing. I have to check and see. And then also to give them new tasks. Because the focus area has really always been West Atlantic.
Right.
As you know, we're doing all the Northwest, Southwest infrastructure. We have our properties in West Atlantic. So the next thing would be what you all would want input on.
Thank you.
Sure.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. I mean, I agree that we want citizen engagement with the CRA, but it's really up to us to kind of give them direction. As I remember when we formed it, we were going to be kind of tasking them with, we'd like you to look at this and what do you think and what can we do, et cetera, et cetera. And I really think if we're going to continue it, and I think it's a good idea, that we do our part of the bargain, so to speak, and task them with something.
Commissioner?
I'm also in favor of that. I think we need to do that. I will say there is one issue that we're facing in the city right now is we're not getting a hell of a lot of applicants for a lot of our boards, and management's looking at that and trying to figure out ways that we can do a better job recruiting. But I've been working on the opioid board, and we barely could get 3 people to apply for that board. So the city's looking at that. So if any of you have friends or that are out there and you can nudge them along to help us in the city, we could use a hand right now.
Okay, and I will also be supporting it. I think it provides a very structured and consistent way to for the public to interact with the CRA. So we'd be in support of it.
In terms of what we're going to have,
We got 5 yeses.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you, Madam Chair.
No, fine.
In terms of what we're going to have them focus on, how much of their focus so far has been on the 600 to 800 block section? Because that's what we're going to be moving on now. So I think maybe more comprehensive dive into what the community really wants to see there could be helpful, but I don't want to do like redundant work
That was
either.
the task.
Yeah, that was
That was
The task.
Yes.
So, we could have them move on to something else. Do we think we have enough there that, I mean, I know we're waiting for you to sort of present a lot of that, I think, but.
Well, you have all the reports, so you'll see a lot of the input that was given. There were some new things, but I think, what it seems to me is a lot of the input overall has been the same, the grocery store, the same things that we've been looking at over the years. And there was some new feedback also. So I think going forward, the board would have to decide what else you would want input. If you want more there, but I think they all presented pretty comprehensive reports of what their thoughts were. Because really, we've been talking about this the whole entire time. Every meeting has been about 600, 700, 800 blocks and the West Atlantic properties that the CRA owns. So we've dedicated a lot of time. So
we have. And
it's just what's next, I think.
Just based on what I saw, I didn't see a lot of new ideas, which is fine. It just kind of doubled down on everything that we already knew there. So maybe it is time to have them move to a different section of the city or a different sort of project. So we should figure that out.
Okay.
Can I talked to Renee about this yesterday. One of the things that I think this committee could do is look at some of those recommendations and flesh out how viable they all are. I come out of the supermarket and drug industry with Nielsen for 25 years. I'm less than 100% positive that either of those types of retailers is going to be interested in that block. And I think we need to validate sooner rather than later about our options for supermarkets and drugstores. I don't think, as we talked yesterday, I don't think Publix would participate. They've got a store in Atlantic, they've got a store in George Bush. It's just in the middle. So
That's some new information.
We have that coming up. Yes.
Well,
yes.
I'm anxious to hear it because I think these assumptions are all good as long as there's a chance that we can actually land them.
I think Renee has some information that she wants to share with us.
Yes,
That's like hot off the press.
Very hot. Yes.
Yes.
So what we can do then, we can bring this back next month, and we'll look at the structure. Oh, sorry.
No, that's great.
So we can bring it back next month and look at the structure and appointing the members and how that would look going forward. The last meeting is in June, so we still have time to figure out what's next, if we have to reappoint or how that would work. So. All right.
But we're clear that we would like to continue it. So
yes, that was yes.
What their task will be is yet to be seen. Okay.
Exactly. Yes.
All right.
And again, the meeting is they still have till June for this current group. That we were just looking at this 3 months prior to give us time to figure out what we're going to do next. So
good.
We got it. So we'll bring this back. We'll look at the reappointment or the term and all of that, and have more details next month.
Okay. And so new business. You did.
We did. We had public comments.
We did have
We'll
it already.
You guys didn't call on me.
I was wondering.
We can
what happened.
reopen public comments if you.
We'll reopen it for you, Mr. Long. Come on up.
I was going to discuss the property at the Artist Alley. Shall I wait until then or do it now? Because it says agenda items on here.
It's agenda or non-agenda items. So go ahead with your comment.
Oh, okay. This George Long, 46 North Swinton Avenue. I found parking places for subculture now. Beyond that,
Thank you.
there's plenty of room there, but that's not what I'm about. A couple of things in my driving around and looking at properties and things like that. I've made a couple of runs through there, and I'm sure everybody's already aware of this. The location, when we're talking about affordable housing or workforce housing or housing anywhere near town, we're not far from the proposed coastal link from Tri-Rail. Wow, what a location that would be. A lot of people could walk from there to the new Tri-Rail station, or take a bike, whatever you wanted to do. So that was one thing that stood out at me. In terms of just the general value of the properties in the area, we got the Walgreens, Publix being remodeled, redeveloped and all. But also, there was a mention about loading and unloading in the alley. Part of this could be accommodated by using Third Avenue and making a cut through where those little parking places are behind Bettner's to Artist Alley. So if you see a truck in there, you're not blocked the whole place. You could just go down Third Avenue and cross where those two little public parking places are. You know, I'm talking about between Third Avenue and Artist Alley, between Bettner's and the other places like that. It'd be really good access to get in there and get around. So anyway, I'm giving you guys a first opportunity, all right? The first right of refusal before I buy it. So get with the program. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, we'll move on to new business.
Right. So first is appointing the deputy vice chair position. So by statute, the governing body, which is the city commission, appoints the chair and vice chair for the CRA, and then we, the CRA, added the deputy vice chair position. So this would be for the board.
I'd like to nominate Commissioner Casal to be the deputy vice chair.
I'll second that. Thank you. Of course.
Commissioner Long,
Yes.
Chair Burns,
Yes.
Vice Chair Markert,
Yes.
Commissioner Carney,
Yes.
and Commissioner Casal.
Yes, thank you.
Okay, motion carried.
Congratulations.
Okay, 9B.
All right, so 9B, we have a budget amendment. This one's a little bit different. We have some items that are more administrative for CRA if you look towards the bottom half of the slide where it says other adjustments. But there were two city requests that we had that we thought it would be important to discuss in a bit of a larger sense. So I can go through those if Gino, you want to maybe go through the smaller ones, if you want to do that briefly. The other, yes. Gina will go through those really briefly, and we'll kind of work backwards. And we have Missy here as well. I'm going to call out Missy for the city items. But Gina can go through the brief art CRA items, please. Thank you.
Yeah, the smaller adjustments, well, even though we have the land acquisitions under there, it's really to accommodate any of the adjustments above, like the city requests and the reduction in our TIF from our final evaluation. We had a reduction in our TIF funds of like $119,000 in total between the two. But the other adjustments we have for 98 Northwest 5th Avenue. So the utilities and also the maintenance items have gone up. You know, it was just, you know, we didn't know really at the time how much all that was going to cost. So those we need to put up a little bit more. And then we have in our regular redevelopment maintenance items, we increased it here 17,700, and that was really based on, that's for the redevelopment of the cottage at 182 Northwest 5th Avenue, and we took those funds partially from the grant, the CRA grant revenue, grant program funds that we would have given out for site assistance for that property. And in addition, we took $25,000 from the CRA grant programs line item and added it to the A-Guide funding to accommodate the increase for the Historical Society in their funding. And then we just increased the legal and redevelopment a little bit more, and that's really minor. It's just been due to, you know, the collection, you know, some of the collection issues and different issues there, and for purchasing some of the properties that we've been doing. That's it. You have any questions for me?
Yes. This $500,000 for Crest Theater preservation. What is that?
Okay, these were additional.
This is for what?
You wanna
That's
take
next.
that?
That's me.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh. Okay.
So that has not come up yet. So I wanted Gina to kind of work backwards. So we go through the little minor CRA items. Those are more routine. And normally if it was that was the only thing we had to present, we would just put that forward and not have it as a larger discussion. So the Crest Theater, a little bit different. So during last budget year, I guess there was maybe some interest in the city commission, or there was a change in our request to the CRA about utilizing the funding that we had in our budget for the implementation of the Old School Square master plan to be used for the Crest Theater renovation. So I guess somehow in translation, we didn't quite realize that that request changed. So we left it in our budget as implementing the Old School Square master plan. So early this year, we were getting emails from Missy about using that funding for the implementation of the master plan to use that towards the Crest Theater renovation. So we obviously wanted to bring that to the board because that's not how we approved our budget. So after some, back and forth discussion with Missy, we prepared this item to basically discuss with our board if this is something that we as the CRA would be interested in funding. We just hadn't had the discussion. So I thought it would be good to have this conversation with our group. I understand there was an RFQ, a request for qualifications, that was issued, I believe late last year, I think, that had some statement about the CRA funding this project. We are not. I guess there was maybe a misunderstanding of us helping with the some portions of it, but we actually as a CRA have not talked about it. So I'm bringing this up for us to discuss how we feel, if we would like to consider this, which is why it's not it's a potential budget adjustment on our request. So yes. And I believe the $500,000 would help with the architectural, if I believe that's the correct ask for right now. The total cost of this project is $5.5 million based on the RFQ documents, and the architectural was $500,000, and the bid was issued, and there are responses back from it. So we just want to hear where the board is with this item.
I'll let my colleagues go first because
I just want a clarification.
I'm not feeling it.
So 500 was already budgeted, and we're essentially doing it. It's the same 500, but just for a different purpose, or?
Well, no. So we're suggesting, or what we were thinking, is to not touch the 500,000 for the Old School Square master plan implementation, because there's a lot of issues right now that's happening at the grounds, and that's part of the next item would be the CIP ILA amendment if we want to do that. And we also included a clarification about that, because right now, if you go out there, the grounds are being used more so than they've been in the past. So I've talked with Missy and Sam and Laura from the DDA about maybe putting down turf block, but that's something that I also would like us to talk about, how we would like those funds utilized, because the master plan did call for turf block in some areas. But if we want to just take the money out of that altogether and put it towards this, that's something we just have to decide. We just thought we should leave that money in there because the grounds are in desperate need of some sort of implementation of the master plan. Maybe not the whole thing, because that was very expensive, but if we could start somewhere, I think it would help with the excessive use that we've had.
So this money was allocated for the master plan for the grounds.
Yes.
And it is now being requested to use differently.
Correct. But what we're saying, if we want to entertain the Crest Theater, if we want to do all of it, the suggestion would be is to take $500,000 from acquisitions, because we have money in there, and allocate that towards Crest Theater and not touch the Old School Master Plan funds. Is what we're
Where you finish, I'm
talking
sorry.
about.
I'm just saying. So it's an addition. It's a new 500, is what we're saying.
We can go either way. If we are seriously
it's in our
considering,
acquisitions fund.
Exactly.
Okay, so we have the cash.
We have it.
And it's just allocating that now towards the renovation of the Crest.
Exactly.
Is that what we're saying?
Okay.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yes, is what we're saying.
Now
If
I
we want to entertain the Crest request.
All right, so I don't see anything blight about the Crest, and the CRA funds are supposed to be for slum and blight. We are 30 years late in taking care of slum and blight. We have the Northwest project that we need, how many million?
80.
80 million.
Yes.
I'm totally not for it, so I'll let my colleagues speak. Commissioner Cassell, I'm sorry, you want to start?
Sure, if you're not starting now.
No, go ahead.
She was thinking.
No.
Would this be within the purview of, because we have to be very careful with that, obviously, within the purview of what CRAs are like meant to cover?
So this one, because it's historic preservation, and there are references in our plan about supporting the campus itself.
Yeah.
The master plan, we were still kind of moving forward because it's something that we've been working on for a very long time. I think the master plan, we were going to amend it to do another phase of it in 2018, but we decided we're not spending any money east of Swinton. We're only spending money west. and we kind of let it be there. So over the time, we've kind of started looking back at Old School Square because we've done quite a bit in the set area. So there are references to our plan. I do not think we should pay for 100% of this at all. I think it's a lot that's would be out of our purview. But some portion or some contribution we could look at as a part of historic preservation for the structure, but not the entire thing.
And what would we be spending potentially if we did turf block on the grounds?
So the allocation we have for the Old School Square, or for the master plan anticipation, is $500,000. I don't know the cost of it. Maybe Missy can help. I don't think we've really costed that whole breakout of what that would be. I think we're also looking at some drainage improvements, some slight things that were in the master plan. We don't have the exact cost yet, because I don't think you all have had a discussion about what you actually want to do or implement from that master plan. I know we met individually a while ago, but as a group, we haven't really discussed that. I don't know if that's happened at the city either. So this is why we're trying to open this up for us to discuss which way we want to go.
No, it's an important conversation. We've been talking about the grounds for a while now.
Yes.
I don't know if you guys have seen what turf block is. It has grass that grows up through it. You almost but it's like blocks. It's really cool, and it's something that I do think we need, because it's an ongoing maintenance issue and cost and dedication of resources to fix the grounds every time we have an event. And so until we fix it, it's going to keep costing us money. And the Crest Theater, like, I hear about that every week from folks. Like, when are we going to? So I mean, part of me is like, this needs to get done, but I don't disagree with Chair Burns that, like, this is sort of mission creep from what we should be focused on from the CRA. But I also have to keep in mind that we're not super flush right now at the city. So if we don't fund it out of here, when's it going to get done? Do we keep delaying it? So it's kind of a tricky issue right now. So I don't know where I'm at on it, to be honest. I want to hear from my colleagues.
Commissioner Cosell.
Thanks. Personally, I'd be more comfortable putting the $500,000 towards the Crest in terms of associating with our mission, because the Crest Theater will serve the community in some way, shape, or form. But I think the real question is, what's the most immediate need? Because, and when is the money actually needed? If we need to get the turf block done immediately, then the money should be allocated there. If our portion of the Crest Theater is needed immediately, then there. I need to know what the time frame is, because I think that would help me determine where the money's going. I think it's going to one or the other. And if our mission is served either way, then it's really just out of necessity.
Well, that's what we were saying, we could do both. We could take $500,000 from our acquisition budget to have $500,000 towards this Crest. The bigger question is, the rest of the project cost is $5.5 million. So even if we put $500,000 in,
it's as minor compared, and it really is, it should be something that I understand what you're saying about slum and blight, and I agree with you 100%, but this is also our community theater, and the CRA contributing some very small portion to it does not seem unreasonable.
Oh, yes.
Where you said that this $500,000 is just a drop in the bucket. So where would the rest of the funding? Does it make sense to put this $500,000 and then you don't have the money to do the rest of it?
I think I'm going to ask Missy to come up for this one, because I don't know how the city's funding the rest of the project.
Was that in our CIP?
I don't know where. Yeah, I don't know where it is. So, Missy, please help.
Good afternoon, Missy Barletta, Public Works Director for the City of Delray Beach. We've had some significant discussions on what the actual cost of finishing the Crest Theater is going to be since the time that RFQ was published, and the current thinking is that we'll be able to finish that project at $3.5 million, not $5.5 million, but $3.5 million. And our expectation is that with the assistance of the CRA to provide the design, that we will bring the request for the remaining dollars to commission with City Capital Improvement Program budgeting.
Thank you.
So what happens if we don't dedicate any CRA funds to this? Does it jam it up at the city, or can we still keep moving?
It jams it up.
Okay. That was my concern.
And I don't want to be Debbie Downer. My issue with what's been going on at the Crest is this. Nothing has come forward to the commission about what our plan is for the Crest. Nothing, I've not approved anything. I've not seen any documents. So we send an RFQ out. I don't know what's in there. I don't know what we're asking for. And I took exception early on in the process. I know absolutely nothing about running a theater, but I brought in two experts, Daniel Hartwell and Matt Posner, to go into the theater and look at it. And both of them came back with independent opinions that we should go cheap and cheerful in the Crest Theater because it's going to compete with the Delray Beach Playhouse. They both said it's never going to be big enough that we're going to attract big acts, and so we're not going to make a lot of money off of it. And so they were advocating that we run a really tight budget and just get it open and not overspend on it. Now, I don't know what the plan is. I don't know. I haven't seen where $3.5 or $5.5 million is going to go. So I feel like the cart got out in front of the horse on this one, at least from my perspective.
Our current direction from commission has been to proceed with doing a design for a complete renovation of the Crest Theater.
But to what specs, Missy? Like we never discussed. Did we go all the way to Brighton, spend $20 million, or did we try to do it for $2 million? I mean, I just feel like we never had input on that. Somebody might have. I didn't.
Okay.
And again, I know nothing about theaters, but I'm relying on some experts that I brought in who both independently reached the same.
So the part of the process that we're at is to hire an architectural firm that will outline exactly what the options are and do those designs and give us that kind of input.
Okay.
We're not beyond that point currently.
But I think what you're saying is you need this money to get there, so.
Yes.
I'm gonna jump in here. I've also had some people take a look at the theater. I'm going to disagree with you on that, of whether they can compete or not. I brought in some people as well who had maybe different theories, but the point is, I had the occasion to be on that board for nearly 10 years, and we've been talking about renovating this building for 30 years. We've been putting it off and putting it off. So it is a city-owned building. So the reality is, it needs to be done. Now, as it relates to this first part, I think that I understand slum and blight, but there's also the statute is bigger than just slum and blight, and it does allow for these kinds of targeted expenses, for example, to help historic structures, and I think that we've committed $40 million. We've committed a lot of money to a lot of other parts of town. I think that this, which is really at the corner of Main and Main for the city, really we need to make sure that it is also a viable type of building. And so I understand it's an additional $500,000. I completely agree with what we're talking about doing with the sodding and things like that. I think it's just going to preserve the property because it's just not, it's not sustainable with people walking on it the whole time, and that's absolutely true. So I think that we should give it try it with the $500,000 because we're taking it out of our acquisition funds. We're sitting on $70 million in cash, but we're going to give 40 to Pompeii. We're going to be giving. It's not like we're not spending money in the areas of the community which really need the money. And I think if we're going to preserve what really is, as I called it, Main and Main, I think at least getting them started with the funds. The determination of how grand we want it is going to be a separate conversation. Right. But the stuff that we're talking about doing here is like the corridors, the bathrooms.
So you're a yes on the 500.
I'm a yes on the 500.
I'm also a yes. So do we?
I just have a quick. I'm just trying to understand and help me out here if I'm not getting something. If we thought it was $5.5 million, but it's looking more like $3.5 in the 500,000 was based on the 5.5, then why would we still need it if it's only 3.5? Couldn't we just start it at the city, and then if there's some kind of budget shortfall as we get further into it, then we could discuss, are we going to jump in to add some money? Why start with throwing that in if we might not need it?
Well, I don't want to go too deeply because we're in the cone of silence for But we've been through the selection committee. There is a top-ranked firm. We're getting ready to negotiate that contract, and I promise you we will be negotiating it very strictly, as we always do. So there's a potential that it may be as much as $500,000. It may be less than $500,000. But our initial estimate when this was sent out was that it could be as much as $500,000 for this architectural design.
Renee, was there a second part? I'm sorry, did you get your question answered?
I guess my question is, what is it a budget issue with the city that we're not going to have the $500,000 to get the ball rolling, so we need to start the design with money from the CRA?
It is, because it's in this current fiscal year. We're not planning
So
out.
otherwise we'd have to wait till next year and include it in the
Correct.
budget, so that's the issue.
Yes.
I mean, could we discuss potentially repaying the CRA?
I was going to say, do we get it back?
Yeah, I mean,
No, because I mean, if you
I think it's a city responsibility. Everybody's decided, so we don't have to
let's do it.
discuss it anymore. Renee, was there a second part? Because there was another city request
ILA.
on there.
Well, the ILA is a different item, so we have another city
So
request.
do we need to make a decision on the $500,000 first before we go
We
to
have to
that? Or
approve
is
the
it all
budget.
one
I think
item?
approving it is one, because if you see how we prepared this estimate, I don't know if this thing, oh yeah. So we prepared this as a proposed amendment, but we prepared it, if you see here, land acquisitions, we prepared it as if we were basically utilizing land acquisition funds for this request. So we can go through all of it, and if you're okay with it and you approve it this way, we are fine to go forward. The money would just come out of our acquisition budget.
That was my only question, and so we've discussed that. So
Correct.
now we're looking
Next.
for a motion for the entire thing.
Well, no, we have one more,
Oh, okay.
roundabout. So, number 2, this is removal of the roundabout at Southwest 8th Avenue and Southwest 2nd Street. So, as Missy and I have been discussing this Crest situation for the last couple months, the roundabout, this came up during the discussions that this, I believe, was going to be a request to the CRA for next fiscal year to remove a roundabout that I believe has been the source of many complaints in the neighborhood for a while now. So there was going to be a request to us to remove it and then repave over that intersection. So I just said, well, since we're already talking about these potential requests, let's just throw it in now. If you all would like to consider this, the total request is $211,000, $31,000 for engineering designs, and $180,000 for the removal and repairing the road after. So,
Question, if I may.
Go ahead.
When are we going to actually do the work in that area, though? Are we throwing this money out, doing this work, and then within a year we'll be doing all the work we're doing in that area?
no,
This is
years
years off.
years out. So
Okay,
we're
fine.
doing Northwest.
Thank you.
Southwest will probably be 7 to plus
we're-
7 years
We're
out.
saving
Okay.
lives here.
For
There's so many
Southwest.
accidents right there with that roundabout is crazy.
We can recognize that. Yeah.
like it.
We all know that thank you so much. We all know that I like roundabouts, but I also don't like it when cities come into a neighborhood and create their vision of the neighborhood, and the neighborhood has to live with it. If the neighborhood doesn't want this, I'm going to support changing it to something that the neighborhood wants.
And Missy also has some information about this, because Missy, you refer to that road as a feeder road or
It's
something?
a collector road. Northwest 8th or Southwest 8th, as it goes through there is a significant connector. We are going to also be putting in a request to the CRA for funding for roadway repair work farther down on Southwest 8th Avenue, where it goes from in front of the Catholic Church all the way down to 10th Street in front of the cemetery. That road has been deteriorating over a number of years, and there's been a significant loss of road base. So we're going to actually need to take that road all the way down and rebuild the base and then pave over top of it, which is a more significant type of roadway repair than we normally do. But we've asked the state for several years in a row for funding to repair that road and have not been successful. We are not successful with that again this year. And so we're going to, in discussions with Renee, we have tried to offset some of the deterioration in the southwest neighborhood over the last several budget cycles by targeting those areas that are in more immediate need and starting repairs in the southwest neighborhood as those critical needs pop up. And we feel like that Southwest 8th between 4th and 10th is at that place now.
Any other discussions?
Yeah, I mean, I actually like roundabouts too, but they're not appropriate everywhere, I guess, and we have to be responsive to the needs of the community. So I get it, and if it is causing accidents, we'd have to address that. So I think this probably makes sense to do it.
I also like roundabouts. I don't see the issues with them at all. And the only thing I'd ask Missy, and you'll give me a straight answer on this, is it a couple of loud people, or is it the whole neighborhood is clamoring about this?
Well, no, it's not a couple of loud people. It's the neighborhood would like to see these done. This project was actually a CRA project that was just being completed when I started here at the city. When we took a look at what was done, we felt that those roundabouts are too small to be truly effective roundabouts on that entire roadway. And while some of them are on less heavily traveled roads, they're not problematic the way that the one that we took out at 6th Street this year, and then this one, if we're able to secure the funding to move ahead with it, this one is even more problematic than that one has been.
And so this will become a four-way stop, basically?
Yes.
Yeah.
And you have to remember that I like roundabouts as well, but they don't work in all neighborhoods, and the streets and the set are narrower than the streets all
These
around.
are very, very small,
It's tiny,
and they were not designed with mountable curbs, so that when a truck goes around it, tries to make that turn around it, it has to go up over the curb. That's problematic, right?
Every time.
They're very small, and they,
Suburbans have to go up on the curb as well.
Let's do it.
yeah.
Okay, should I make a motion to approve this?
Well, I wanted to ask, so they go together, so I'm not for the 500,000, but these go together, so it's one vote.
Correct. It's all
Okay,
one.
got
Yes.
Motion to approve budget amendment number 2, fiscal year 2024-25.
Can I get a second?
I'll second it.
Chair Burns,
Yes.
Vice Chair Markert,
Yes.
Commissioner Carney,
Yes.
Commissioner Casal,
Yes.
and Commissioner Long.
Yes.
We'll give you your own little chair at the crest.
I love the crest. I just,
I know.
it's a different discussion.
I know, different discussion.
I'm sorry, I was taking a drink. Are you ready?
Yes. Okay. So next item, since we approved the budget, typically we'd have these items on separate agendas, but because timing and things, we put them together. So the next item is the First Amendment to the CIP ILA amended, interlocal amendment with the City of Delray Beach. So this is basically incorporating the things that we just mentioned. I'll skip over here. So the Crest Theater, which we already talked about, and then the roundabout. So going back, I just wanted to add some clarification on that implementation of the Old School Square master plan, because we did, like I said, didn't have like a discussion amongst ourselves about how we would like to see those funds spent. And in discussions with staff from the city and the DDA, we had discussed about the turf block and maybe some drainage to help with the grounds, because you can see there's some turf block or these different types of paverings, things going on that we want to try to implement because the grounds are being really heavily used. Sod is having to be replaced, but it's just not quick enough for the amount of use on the ground. So implementing some kind of turf block or something would help, we hope, with the situation that's happening here. And then we can look at the rest of the master plan as years progress on. So this is really just for clarification and input from the CRA board collectively about that $500,000 to implement the master plan. Because again, we haven't really had that conversation.
So now we're talking about the original 500,000.
The original, yes. So the 500,000,
which I was for, because
Yes.
we need to do the grounds.
yes, you liked that one.
But we got.
There's two 500, yes.
Yes.
Do you want me to make a motion?
Sure.
Motion to approve First
Is there any
Amendment.
No, I
questions or
know,
anything?
it's fine.
To
Have
the
we established
interlocal
that's what we're
agreement.
gonna do for sure? That's gonna be turf block for like how much of it?
Well, that's to be determined. I think we were looking at the, this thing, the area.
Could I ask a
Right in front of the
favor?
theater,
Could we
yes.
ask Laura to step up?
Come on up.
Do you
Northeast
mind?
first.
I just, I'm
Oh,
seeing
actually,
you.
Missy maybe can give input
Someone
to.
step up.
It's gonna be more of a messy.
Right now, you're answering Rob's question, right?
Yes,
Yes,
I was
please.
trying to. Yes,
I'm sorry, Commissioner.
about where it
Long.
would be. So when we discussed with Sam and Missy, it was about the area in front of the amphitheater,
Right.
and then first, because there is turf our block already on Northeast First, but it's covered up by grass, so it's kind of exposing some of that and trying to rectify that situation. And I believe we were looking at some drainage or electrical issues that were a problem as well.
Hi. Thank you. So I'm just listening to this, but we've had lots of different conversations. So Laura Simon from the DDA. And I appreciate you letting me speak. We do have, since we've been overseeing the campus and implementing all the different events since 2022, when we entered into this partnership, the lighting and pieces of the master plan were parts of what we discussed to look at implementing right away. Light up the buildings, make it look brighter there, active, as well as landscaping. But that was really the intent around that initially, and then over time, due to the amount of heavy use and the weather and drainage that happens in that, both the amphitheater side and the front lawn of the museum, it was recommended to look at how do we implement other pieces of the master plan with creating plazas, like looking at the front of the museum and making it more of a plaza aspect, which I don't know where that falls into this original 2017 master plan, which is really redoing the entire campus. And then where the amphitheater is and the old road, First Avenue Street is where the bad continued wear and tear is, and would need that potential turf block or something that in that same process that would make the current how it's currently used in everyday use there better. Because what the intent was with the master plan is to change the entire place to be something that a little bit different. And I think as we see how it's being used every day there's ways to even change in front of the concession stand to make that more of a patio feel, because it's right now grass and landscaping. So it's almost taking a second look at it and presenting some different options. That would be my suggestion, and we've had group conversations about that. And really looking at the front lawn area, because right now, since the Christmas tree is no longer there, that one section is all grass and could really be better served as being a multi-interactual plaza where you have patio with landscape and be able to endure the amount of markets or vending things that are out there. So those are my suggestions. And I know
Thank you, Laura. Appreciate it. That's super helpful. Yeah, I mean, ultimately, I'm going to be in favor of this. I was just hoping for some more clarity on it. I think just in sod costs alone, we're going to make our money back on this pretty quick. So yeah, I'm on board.
Yes. Anybody else have any comment?
Well, I'm actually, I agree.
Okay.
Okay, so motion to approve First Amendment to the interlocal agreement between the City of Delray and the Delray Beach Community Redevelopment Agency.
Can I get a second?
I'll second.
Thank you.
Vice Chair Markert,
Yes.
Commissioner Carney,
Yes.
Commissioner Casal,
Yes.
Commissioner Long,
Yes.
and Chair Burns.
Yes. And moving right along, 9D.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. Christine Tibbs, Assistant Director. So this item is brought before you as an update and to get direction on a few of our properties that we have on Northwest 5th Avenue. So that are for rent. The first property that we're going to talk about is 186 Northwest 5th Avenue. It is the Teal Cottage right at the intersection of Northwest 5th Avenue and Northwest 2nd Street. We actually want to let everyone know that Visual Adjectives was selected as the new tenant. They are actually going to move in tomorrow. So Michelle and her son Edward founded Visual Adjectives. They are a publishing company. So they will be moving in, and they executed a 4-year lease with the CRA. There are 2 additional options to renew, and they're super excited. So we wish them well, and that they will be super successful in that space. So stay on the lookout as they, celebrate their grand opening. The next space is the Edmonds Bain building at 98 Northwest 5th Avenue. So that building, we did a second notice of intent to lease that was issued May 30th, 2024, and there were 10 submissions. The review committee did look at all 10 applicants, and given that there are limited affordable commercial spaces, and we only own so much of those spaces on Northwest 5th Avenue, and there's only 2 remaining bays left at the building, the review committee and CRA staff really feel we really want to keep the needs and the desires of the community, the goals and objectives for the Northwest Southwest 5th Avenue commercial corridor as stated in our plan, the West Atlantic needs assessment, and the 2016 Focus on 5th initiative at the forefront when deciding on when for the future tenants. So the review committee actually decided that the best course of action was to reissue the notice of intent and come back to the board and see if there's a desire to add additional specifications to the notice of intent as to the types of businesses that the community wants or the board wants to see there, and just get additional feedback and incorporate that into the new notice of intent, and provide another opportunity for businesses to apply and be a part of the Northwest 5th Avenue corridor and the tenants and businesses that are there now. So, and for those additional specifications in the third notice of intent, we do want to point out the types of businesses that are currently on Northwest 5th Avenue. And we see that there are a few barbershops and salons, and there's also one on Northwest 6th Avenue that's in Hatcher's new building. So we did want to see if the board was open to making a restriction in the new notice of intent and restricting salons and barbershops from submitting, because we do get a lot of those submissions with the second notice of intent as well. There is a salon that has a space at 98 Northwest 5th Avenue. There's currently one salon at 135 Northwest 5th Avenue. There's a barbershop at 102 Northwest 5th Avenue, and then the 4th one on Northwest 6th. So we just feel that diversification of the businesses on the street would only benefit the people who visit the area, and then the businesses also there too. So we are seeking direction on the third notice of intent, additional feedback and specifications that the board would like to see, and then opportunity to incorporate anything from the community as well, especially those gathered from our RAC advisory. Oh, and then just wanted to put the lease amounts in terms that the board had previously approved there for review.
Thank you.
Our third building that we have a space at is 135 Northwest 5th Avenue. There is a current tenant in the space. However, their current lease doesn't allow for any more renewals. So we do have to put the space back out for the notice of intent to lease and open it up to new proposals and submissions. Their current rent is $1,338.23. That is inclusive of the association fees because this space is part of a condominium association that is managed by the CRA. We are proposing to make the lease terms consistent, comparable to the other spaces that we do own on Northwest 5th Avenue. So we are proposing $21 a square foot. It is 875 square foot space, a 6% annual increase, and then it would be inclusive of the $1,745 quarterly association dues. And for this specific property, we are looking for the board to confirm that or accept or give us feedback on the lease terms. And we would issue Monday, May 5th, with a deadline of Friday, June 20th for all of the notice of intent to leases for the spaces, the 3 spaces. This is just an overview of the application process, which I'm sure you're familiar with, but if not, it will be incorporated. It is incorporated in the backup for the applications. And then board action, just provide us direction for additional specification for 98 Northwest Fifth Avenue, 2 remaining bays, direction as to the lease terms for 135 Northwest Fifth Avenue, and then approval to issue the 2 notices of intent for the 2 buildings. Thank you.
Yes.
I would just say that a salon and a barbershop are different. One of them said salon and barbershop, but a barbershop I think typically would serve gentlemen and a salon might serve ladies. And so if we're excluding, I like the idea of having a limited number, but I want to make sure that we don't exclude the barbershop and have all salons. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
they do
I don't like the
both.
They
word
do
restrict.
both. I think they call themselves barbershop salon.
Okay.
So we can double check. But there is a barber at 102 Northwest Fifth Avenue.
Right.
Primo's, yes. And then Blanc, Fresh
he's the
on
new-
Northwest 6th Avenue. He is a barber salon.
Okay.
That's his full
Got
title. And Uppercuts at 135 Northwest 5th Avenue. Also, that specific the restriction would just be for 98 Northwest 5th Avenue. That's what we are
Just
recommending.
for that building. Okay.
Not for 135 Northwest 5th Avenue. That would open it. That would remain open to potentially for him resubmitting and being selected for the space again to continue
Okay.
operations there.
And I agree with the lease terms.
So it's tricky because our job is to help sort of jumpstart the economy in these areas. So in a way we are interfering with the market, but I also hate to add diversity to the market by restriction. So I guess my question is: are these barber shops and salons successful? Like, are people going to them and are they able to stay in business, or is there just like constant turnover whenever one of these starts?
Well, Uppercuts has been there for over 10 years at this point in the building. Primo's, I can't say how long he's been there, but I understand for a very long time. He is a tenant that we inherited when we purchased, and he's been a very good tenant. And I'm sure you're all familiar with Mr. Blanc, who has been on West Atlantic Avenue for a while, and he just moved into Hatcher's building. With our new tenant at 98 Northwest 5th Avenue, she is still going through the build-out process, so she hasn't opened, but she does have a client base because she was operating in Delray Beach prior. So I can't say, other than that, they've all been there for a very long time and operating with
Right.
their own respective clients.
So listen, I could say I think there's too many Italian restaurants in Delray. Let's have more diversity, which we do have too many.
Like one Chinese restaurant.
Yeah, right? Can we get a French restaurant? But they're all successful. That's what the market dictates. And so if these are successful and people want to keep putting them in and people keep going to them, I don't want to stand in the way of that necessarily. I don't necessarily think arbitrarily saying, well, there's too many. If that's what the folks in the neighborhood want, I think we should let the market dictate what goes here.
We're just talking about the one building, though.
Right.
Just restricting when we're leasing out in that one building. We're not saying.
Are we worried about it cannibalizing the other business in the building and impacting the success of the tenant that's there? Is that why we're...
Yeah. So I was in the committee of the review. That was part of the discussion. It's just that if we're trying to kind of curate that building to have different types of businesses there, that's the
I thought we were talking
thought
about the whole
process.
street. My mistake.
No, not the whole street. It's just 98 Northwest 5th. Because the salon, essentially, if there was another hair service or something, it would be right next to it. So right now we have on 5th, we have Rabbit Hole, who just got their permit, by the way, last week. So
Oh, good.
yes,
I've been asking about it.
I know that was under my comments, but yes, Rabbit Hole was issued their permit, so they're the business that's on 5th Avenue. Right next to Rabbit Hole is the salon. Then there's 2 empty bays, and then Atlantic Current is all the way towards the west part of the building. So it's just those 2 middle bays.
Got it. Okay.
So, we can leave it out. It's just something that came up from the group when we reviewed it.
It's a fair point. I think if we allowed a barber shop in, that'd be fine, because like Commissioner said, it's sort of serving two different markets probably, but maybe not another salon, just since it's all in one building, you don't want to hurt the ability of that tenant to survive because they're competing with another salon.
And hair,
So I
the
get
other
that.
thing
That makes sense.
is hair services, like, or I guess hair products. Is that something, there was someone that applied with hair products, so is that something that we would be open to leaving in as
It's
well?
like retail, they're just selling it, then who cares? I think that's fine. Probably would help the business, they'd probably do well next to a salon.
If they sell cosmetics and things, it'll be more than just hair products.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's different business.
I like Rob's compromise. I think that's a good move. I'm in favor of that.
All right.
I agree.
Yeah, I was gonna say, the businesses are very profitable, and you have to look at the culture and the neighborhood. They are very profitable, and it is what that neighborhood demands. So, and I don't like the word restrict. I mean, you have the ability to deny or approve. So if someone applies, you already got another salon, you don't select the salon. But I don't like the word restrict them from applying. So
well
that's what
said.
we need.
So are we saying no to the salon, or are we just saying we're just going to leave it as the general restrictions we have is something that we don't accept applications from things that are against the city code. So that's currently what's there. So the question is the salon. Are we going to say no more salons, or do we just let it?
Would we have the ability to say no to a salon if they applied still, or would we have to let them go through the process if they applied?
Well, so the way this was structured is it's not reviewed by the board. It's reviewed by a separate group, by our staff, city, and this time we had the DDA participate as well. So if they apply, I wouldn't want someone to apply to then say, oh, we're not going to consider.
Seems unkind.
Right. Unless there's an incomplete application, everyone is scored and there's a percentage. If you're not at that 80% threshold, then we don't have any submissions go forward. So
I get it.
Yeah, and like I said, we can just let it go, and this is something that came up from our review group that we said we'd bring it to the board. So we're just passing on the information. We can just decide, no, we don't want to do that. We don't have to. It's just something that came up in the discussion. So it doesn't really matter one way or the other. We can put it out and just see what happens.
I say leave it. I mean, that's just me, so.
Yeah, I just want to make sure that, I'm sorry.
Do we need a motion?
Yes.
I mean, they have the ability to say yes or no.
Oh, no, I'm saying I just want I don't want them all to be successful. I just want them all to be,
absolutely.
and whatever's successful, that's great.
So we're basically we doing all the issuing that we're suggesting here without saying no to salons or to certain types of businesses, except the ones that are on the city's restriction list.
Right.
I think that's,
All right.
Well, I did want to add that we also have restricted, no nonprofits can go into the
we said that
space
too.
as well. We did say that.
That's different.
Right.
That's different.
We said, for-profit businesses is what we were looking for.
So did we need a motion on that, or this is just a discussion?
No, we need a discussion. We need a motion to issue, because we're going to be issuing the notice of intent to lease again.
Can I get a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Chair Burns,
Yes.
Vice Chair Markert,
Yes.
Deputy Vice Chair Casal,
Yes.
Commissioner Carney,
Yes.
and Commissioner Long.
Yes.
Okay, moving on. We are at 9E. No.
Yep, this is the,
Oh, that is E.
this was a wait, there's more.
Wait, there's more.
9E.
We are here. Okay. So we included this item on the agenda. This is discussion of the development of the 6, 7, and 800 blocks of West Atlantic Avenue. So exciting news, which everyone already knows. The lawsuit with BH3 is over, essentially. Yes. Yay. Thank you. And to DJ as well. So we've been in the trial for the last couple of weeks, or I've been up there in West Palm Beach. So it was a good outcome, I think, for us especially, to move forward. And we had this item on here just as a discussion. We wanted to start the conversation, so I'm happy that we can have a good update as part of this discussion. But we would like to put out a bid for this project in the next few months, hopefully in the summertime.
Absolutely.
So here shows the properties that we own, 6, 7, 800 block. This 600 block is towards the right-hand side, which is the most complete block that we own. So just a little as a recap, we issued the last request for proposals, RFP, in 2018. As you know, though, we did have ones before, so this is probably going on 10 plus years that we've been trying to develop these parcels. So the last request for proposal sought the key elements of housing, including off-site or on-site workforce housing, and also incorporates the needs assessment for West Atlantic from 2012, which is a full-service grocery store, pharmacy, health and wellness facilities, financial institutions, and family social entertainment. Small spaces for small businesses, and also incorporate some sort of a local hiring inclusion plan to provide job opportunities for local residents and bid opportunities for local subcontractors and vendors. So we all know the outcome of this situation. So turning to 2025, like I said, we do want to put out a bid hopefully in the summertime, maybe July, August, somewhere around there, but we wanted to get input from the board. I thought this could be a bit of a standing item that we discuss every month just to keep it top of mind because it's really important, and it'll help us in crafting the request for proposals to show how serious and committed we are, but this will just be a standing item. So this is the first of a few discussions that we'll have about this. If we need to have a separate workshop, we can do that as well. This is, again, just the kickoff conversation. So a few things that we want to look at is the full service grocery store. I think that's the biggest item that we've heard discussed over and over for so many years. So the question is if we're still moving in that direction, that we would like this full service grocery store included in the development. Do we want to look at alternatives if we don't want a full service grocery store, if we want to put some other sort of small fresh, or request some other small fresh food retailer? Is there a desire to reduce the minimum square footage, just really the grocery store all over or comprehensively? So the update I have is that I spoke with Randy Houlihan. He's with the Pasadena Capital, the Publix developer, basically. I talked to him yesterday after the lawsuit was resolved and just asked, like, hey, it's been 5 years, you know. He has been reaching out to us, but because he was at some point working with the developer before, we didn't speak with him. I didn't speak with him personally. I had him directed to our counsel to speak with, but since it's over, he was the first call I made yesterday. And he said that there would potentially be some interest. He's actually working on a store in Broward County right now, so he doesn't have access to all of his paperwork about Delray, but he said to give him time to look at this and he can get us some information next week. So for those of you who weren't here before, in 2017, there was a store that we were looking at with Publix, but their desire was for us to sell them the land, basically, wait 5 years to determine if they'd want to build or not, and then they would make that determination. As a board, we said no to that, rejected that. There was a site plan, there were, a contract, there were all kinds of things that had happened at the time, but we terminated that because we didn't like that option. So when I spoke with Randy, I expressed that whole sell and then we'll see isn't really what we would want, I think. We want to make sure that we have it if we're going forward. So he said that he can look into that. The kind of easiest store to go through would be the surface parking with a single story store, not something that's incorporated into a larger development. They don't really like that model. But due to the size of the store, we were kind of looking at the land that we have. Maybe we could put a few units of housing behind. I don't know, without studying it a little bit more. But if we are really serious about putting this grocery store first and get going with it, I think we should probably separate that out from the 600 block and the 700 and 800 and just put out a bid specifically for the 600 block, say that we want a grocery store and that's it. But in knowing that it could potentially probably be a store with a surface level parking and a store in the front.
Could I ask a question,
Sure.
Renee? I think this is the best idea because the whole issue we had last time around was the grocery store and making the connection because of the ownership of the land. But one of the things that you talked about is that it was interchangeable from the 6 to the 800. And I was just wondering what's the best thing to do? Are we still feeling the 600 is where it goes? And like you said, maybe we do some additional housing, so you separate the whole 600. Are you thinking there's potential for it to be on the 800 and then you just go on the 800? What's the best?
Skip. So if you recall, we had, as we were planning this while we were in the lawsuit, we started doing these simple sketches of what could go where and moving things around. So we have drawings of some kind of a retail or a store here with the parking garage,
Okay.
and then housing, because the 600 block is the biggest block, so that would be potential for housing. So I'm talking to Randy. I don't know if that would be like the preferred option for the full service grocery store that we're trying to attract. I think from what I understand, they would want space. They want the space for themselves, for their store to be there. So this is just how it was drawn up. I can have more conversations with Randy. Again, this is just the first chat that we're having as a board. But I can ask him to look into it a little bit more before we move
Because that'll
forward.
dictate the RFP for the other 2 blocks.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right, exactly.
And you say the 600 is the most space.
Yes,
That-
yes, it is.
okay.
Yes, so right, yeah, exactly. So this is the 600 block.
Right.
So this one, complete, it can
Okay,
accommodate the most. So, we'd have the store here and then surface parking in the back, essentially. And I talked to him briefly about, I know there's some models with the pharmacy, the bank, and, what exactly would it be into this store? And he just has to get back to me, so.
It's very exciting, Renee. Thank
It
you.
is, I know, we're finally here.
Oh, I'm sorry. The attorney would like to.
Can I jump in on unsolicited advice?
Yes.
Based on the historical experience I've had with the development of this property, as you begin your discussions and consideration, take into consideration the word control. So if you want to do it all in one piece, 3 blocks, you're going to give that control to your developer.
No, we don't want.
Because that's what's happened historically. We've relied on the developer to bring somebody in. If you want to take charge and control the outcome, you may want to consider doing it piece by piece or block by block. I mean, it's a policy decision, but again, I think you will have the opportunity to control the outcome if you maintain control of the land.
Right.
I agree.
I think we have a
Yeah.
consensus on control. But Rob was
Oh,
speaking.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, I mean, I don't disagree. Well said. But I do have some sort of considerations, maybe things to take back to Randy that we could hear back on. I guess my question is, regardless of if we put on the 800 or 700 block, would there be other retail bays included? Because we have to keep in mind we want to be activating this corridor as well, and just a grocery store there doesn't really activate it. But some of the new Publix do have like cafes and stuff in them now, I guess, and if those are front facing, that could help. But it'd also be great if we could fit some other of those retail, maybe put a bank in there, or some of the other things that the community wants, and not have it just be a Publix. And the other question is, I know they don't want to have like a 2-story Publix, but could you put a 2-story parking deck behind it to maximize the amount of parking that we could get there potentially? I just hate surface lots. We're trying to get rid of them in the comprehensive plan. I hate to just build a surface lot. If it's the only way to do it, Publix won't go any other way, then I get it. That's why I'd love to know what they think, and I agree, it probably makes sense to break this off because we want to be able to make this attractive as possible to a Publix. So I agree with all of that. I just think we have to keep all those other things in mind.
Definitely. And I know that I think the LDR requires the liner of retail anyway, so I have to just figure that out a little bit more. But yes, the retail is something that we would like also potentially.
Cool. Okay.
Yeah.
And they have to negotiate.
Yes.
First of all, I agree with doing them not as one big project, because I think it will invite more people to be able to participate in development with different ideas instead of one master plan concept. But this is a desert, a food desert, and it desperately needs a grocery store. And I do believe that, I had this conversation with a fellow who had retired as the president of Albertsons while I was campaigning. And he said, yeah, someone will go there because they're going to get off I-95. They're going to, instead of having to go all the way east, this will be used by a lot of people. And I agree with Commissioner Long. Banks and these kind of things love being in a public shopping center. Two of the Publix I go to, both of them have banks.
Right.
One's a Wells Fargo, the other's a Truist. So they love it. So I think if we do this right, now whether we could surface parking or not, I know I'm not an expert, but I do think that at least on this block, and which is why the bigger block probably works if you're going to try to have other retail outlets in the strip, so to speak. But I think, and that once that's done, I believe the other two will fall into line because it will suddenly have a commercial vibrancy on that 3 blocks, which has been, we were talking about it when I was on the CRA in 2009. So I'm just saying, I think we bought those lands when I was on the CRA in 2000. So that's how long this has been going.
Good. Commissioner Morgan?
No, I concur with everything. I love Rob's idea about the parking, because we're forever short of parking. So if we could slide that into the project, that would make all the sense in the world.
Yes, Publix has to work with us. We get some of what we want. Okay,
Yes.
thank you. I'm in agreement with everything I've heard, so.
Okay.
Keeping it separate, getting going with this, not waiting 5 years for them to decide whether they want to do it or not.
Oh, yeah.
No, yeah. So I'll circle back with him next week or probably even tomorrow. I think he called me yesterday again too. So I think there's definitely interest. So it's just how
Right.
it's structured. We would still, as a CRA, have to put out a bid,
Right, sure.
but by statute, if we're going to be issuing or selling land or however we're going to structure that. So it's just a matter of how we put that out. If we're putting it out as like the big 3 blocks, if we're doing it separate. But I guess for this initial conversation hearing, we would still yes to the grocery store. That's a priority. And then the second question was about putting out the bid. We don't have to decide all these things today. It's just things to think about. If we want to issue 3 separate RFPs or give options for someone to bid all of them or one of them. But I think for right now, we're just focused on the grocery store.
Wait for the grocery store
Right.
before we can go out on the RFP. But I don't want to forget what we were told by Jess when he said we should try to do it a little together so it's cohesive and looks good. So I think we separate off the 1 block and do that ourselves with the grocery store and then RFP out the other 2
Right,
as
yes.
one project.
And actually, question number 3 was about incorporating like an overall design concept, essentially. And because if you recall, we had like the larger sidewalks, and I think that is like an overarching
Yeah,
theme.
well, we
of
can
what
put that
want.
in the RFP, that
Exactly.
we're going to have a design that we're looking for so they can do, and most developers will design, they don't care what the exterior looks like.
Exactly.
They'll any way you want. They want,
They want the
they
right.
want the interior.
Exactly.
Request,
So those are the 3 big things that we're looking at. So we'll bring this back again next month. This was just kind of the icebreaker for the conversation and the update on
And we
that
don't
grocery
have to
store.
prolong anything.
No.
We've waited long enough. Let's do this.
Exactly. I think the grocery store would be the first bid that we would issue, I think, and then we would have the other 2 follow if that's what I'm hearing here. So I'll find out more information and we'll share emails, obviously, but I just wanted for us to show how important this is to put this front and first and foremost right after this lawsuit thankfully is over, that we're already talking about it. And this will be on the agenda every month until we issue the bid.
Great.
Were they
Thank you.
when they
All right.
bought that property? You and I were there when we bought this property.
Yeah, typically I would say that.
History, yes.
Okay,
Rob and I weren't born.
so we
Sit
are
there and I used to sit there.
9F. We are at
9F.
9F.
Yes. Okay. 9F, yes.
Huh.
So at our last meeting, okay, there was a discussion about a potential acquisition of properties by the Arts Warehouse. The addresses are 330, 350, 358 Northeast 4th Street. And there was a request to have this on the agenda for us to discuss this potential acquisition. So you'll see the properties here. Arts Warehouse is right down here. And then this is the subject property. It's just under 2 acres, right off Artist Alley and Northeast 1st Street. And here's a few more images, just for a little bit of historical background here. We tried to purchase these properties back in 2014-15 when they were in foreclosure, but we were not successful when we're outbid. But they have been vacant. I think at the time we were trying to buy them to keep Artist Alley and keep them as active artist spaces. And over the time, we weren't successful in that purchase. So late last year, the realtor broker for the owners reached out just to say if there's any interest. So we appraised the properties just to see. We didn't know what the values were. I know back in 2014 what it was when we tried to purchase these. But we did 2 two appraisals that came back at 19,250,000 and 19,200,000. In talking with the sellers, owners, they're here and their broker, they did an appraisal for 20,200,000. I believe that's what their interest in would be to sell the property for that amount. So this is for the board to discuss how you wanted to handle this and to consider this request. I will say we don't have that amount of money in our acquisitions budget. As you saw, we just actually took some money out for a different purpose. But I wanted to, this was a request to be on the agenda. So we're bringing it forward for the board to discuss.
I could start this one off since I kind of brought this whole thing up. I've been thinking about this a lot because I think it's such an important opportunity and it's a big deal. It's a big chunk of money. So I just to sort of collect all my thoughts, I just wrote up a statement. So bear with me. I'm just going to read through it real quick to try and cover everything here. So I think the CRA should move forward with negotiating the purchase of the properties at 330, 350, 358. Northeast 4th Street, which together form a contiguous and highly strategic 1.92 acre parcel in the heart of our city. This site represents a rare and urgent opportunity to deliver on one of the CRA's core missions, providing workforce and affordable housing in a walkable, job-accessible district. Mr. Longsword referred to that earlier. With the Live Local Act in place, this site would support potentially up to 200 residential units, increasing downtown Delray's workforce housing supply by approximately 60%. It's a transformational leap for a city where roughly 85% of our employees currently live outside of the municipal limits. This initiative aligns directly with Goal 6 of the Always Delray housing element and with Palm Beach County's voter-approved housing bond referendum, which clearly establishes affordable housing as a countywide strategic priority. So Delray has an opportunity to lead the region in a smart infill-based housing development by investing in this property. But I think timing's critical here. We need to move forward expeditiously to secure a purchase and sale agreement so we can control the property while we evaluate funding options, including floating a bond, issuing debt, or securing a loan. The contract would obviously need to include a funding contingency, giving us the ability to walk away if financing cannot be arranged. But we must and think in terms of buying a house. You first are under contract with the home, you do all your due diligence, and then you close on the home. That's how I see it. I think we should be controlling the property and holding the property while we figure everything out. But anyway, but we must now act to avoid losing the property. If we delay and fail to secure site control, a private developer could step in and convert this key downtown parcel into luxury housing, pricing out the very workforce our city depends on, which is sort of what happened before when we got outbidded. So we owe it to our residents, especially our teachers, first responders, and city staff, to take decisive steps while the chance is still ours. And I'd argue this effort is also mutually exclusive from the CRA's other potential affordable housing projects and aligns with the CRA's broader vision. We're not going to have too much affordable housing. In fact, the CRA must take on new debt regardless, given the looming threat of CRA sunset legislation. The Florida House has passed HB 991, which would force all CRAs to sunset by 2045 and severely restrict their project authority. While the Senate version, Senate Bill 1242, is more favorable, the final outcome is uncertain. So we must act while the CRA still has the legal tools to do so. In the short term, this site's 32,000 square feet of industrial and retail space could generate revenue and provide temporary incubator space for local businesses and artists, further expanding Artist Alley District and fulfilling key goals of the CRA and the Always Delray Comprehensive Plan. Located within a designated rehabilitation area, this acquisition would strengthen the CRA's surrounding property values, allow for flexible planning in other parts of the city, and cement Delray Beach's status as a statewide leader in equitable redevelopment. But in my opinion, the time to act is now.
Okay, thank you. Commissioner Casale?
Okay, I'll go next. I'm not worried about the property going anywhere and someone coming in and purchasing it because it's been for sale for a very long time.
But the value could go up, though.
The value was just changed to about $27 million on the listing. It's been active for years, and at the height of the market, which was 2023, it didn't sell for 18.5. So I don't think we should be making decisions based on fear of necessarily losing something. The CRA tried to purchase it in 2015. We didn't, and we did that to keep the vision going, which was the Artist Alley vision, place for artists. In this consideration, you'd be eliminating the idea of Artist Alley. But the owner got the property for $4.5 million, and congratulations on that. But here he's trying to sell it, and that's totally understandable. But, and I said last time, and I did confirm that, there are people saying this property was trying to be peddled around for $15 million. I can refer Renee to the individual.
None of the appraisals came out that low.
Now, I understand that, but no one's bought it at these appraised values for years, so that's suggestive. But here we are. You're talking about putting $21 million, which we don't have. We can't
20 million,
afford it.
2,000.
Okay, 20 million, I'll round it down, into this property that we don't have. Go out for a loan, go out for a bond.
Which we need to do anyway.
We're doing that for infrastructure, not to buy somebody's personal property that has been on the market for years and hasn't sold. I'm not a real estate person, but typically when I see something on the market for years, the price goes down, not up. But that's a side issue.
Right, but the
It
appraisal
doesn't-
values,
Please, it's my time, please don't.
it just does, what you're saying
It's
just
my
doesn't make
time.
sense, though.
I'm allowed, no, it does make total sense.
It doesn't.
It does make sense. It's what you can sell it for, and it hasn't sold for years. It's been sitting on the market. So that is a factor to consider. It doesn't work for workforce the way that you think. I don't think you can fit 200 units because of the shape of the parcel. But if you look at it and you say, okay, it's 2 acres, 100 a unit, at the cost of $21 million. We don't have any idea how many units, but you want us to buy it and then wait and see what we can do for it and wait and see if we can get a loan. There's parking issues over there. There's a host of other issues, including traffic concerns. But I would say to you, if this CRA that I sit here with today is really, really interested in affordable housing, there are other properties in the city. More conducive, less expensive, and very doable. Live Local allows you to use the highest density in any land in the city where residential is allowed. So we're not restricted to that particular area. Live Local also allows for the highest height within a mile. Okay, so if you look at Federal Highway, Tom LaDowney has property on Federal Highway, 2,400, 2,401 Federal. The price of that property is $15 million. It's 3 acres. So in this instance, you're looking at 2 acres for $10 million each, or 3 acres for $5 million each. What's better for the taxpayers? Federal property, 3 acres at $15 million. Northeast, 2 acres at 20. 3 acres on Federal. If you're using your idea of, hey, on 2 acres,
Respectfully, you're just
it's
saying
my
addresses.
time.
We don't
No,
know if that's even
excuse
for
me.
sale.
Chair, it's my time and I'm speaking. Thank you. If you're using the theory that 2 acres gets you 200 units, then 3 acres gets you 300 units. The Federal Highway property is a better property. Land use. This is important to all of us. Commercial land use is something, we have a limited amount of commercial land use in the city of Delray Beach, and we need to protect it. Commercial land use is our asset. Our comp plan tells us to protect it. The Federal Highway property has already converted to residential. So we're not taking commercial property out of our 9% land use that we have in the city. But if we buy this gentleman's property for $20 million, we eliminate 2 acres of commercial land use. And that, to me, is critically important. Preserving our commercial land use is our priority, and our comp plan says so. So the Federal Highway property is a better option for us. The number of units, again, if you're using the idea that each acre could have 100 units, then Federal Highway could give you 300 units for $15 million instead of 200 potential units for $20 million. Parking, okay? Our own agenda report says there are parking issues over in Artist Alley, and we would have a problem with parking. Federal highway property has no parking issues. It's a 3-acre parcel on Federal. It's a better option for if you want to go for affordable housing. Federal highway property is a better option. Traffic on Northeast 4th is a problem. I'm on it twice a day. Stacking is an issue, and traffic. Federal highway would not have that issue. There would be no stacking concerns if you were trying to pull into that development on Federal highway. You can enter from Dixie, and you can enter from Federal. So you wouldn't have any stacking concerns, which we have in every development in the city. We saw it at Edge of Pineapple. We see it everywhere. It's a problem. Federal highway property is a better option to deal with traffic. Access. Northeast 4th property, according to our cover sheet, only has access from Northeast 4th. The alley will not have access. It's 205 feet of frontage on Northeast 4th. It's a triangle-shaped property. So if you really want a project that would work for us, Federal highway would, because you can access it both from Dixie and you can access from Federal. 2 options for ingress, egress on Federal highway, 1 option on Northeast 4th that would create stacking issues. Public transportation, if you look at the bus route, Federal highway has a bus stop directly in front of the property on both sides of the road. 1 going south, 1 going north. It's a full-service bus. But if you were to do the development on Northeast 4th, there's 1 bus stop on the corner of Swinton, and it's a limited access route. Or you'd have to walk out to Federal highway and go all the way south for a block, or all the way north for a block. So if you want a project that's good for affordable housing, Federal highway is the project, because you're giving people the opportunity to access a bus there. So public transportation is always something we should consider when we are considering, excuse me, I typed up a ton of notes. I know, because I that's how I work. Okay, cost of development should be a big factor, because you're talking about, hey, we'll get this property and then we'll just develop it. Projects next to a railroad track often have environmental issues of concern that need to be reviewed. So would we have to do an environmental review? Possibly. And what about past chemicals that have been utilized at this commercial property? Paints and other industrial chemicals potentially could be a problem. So if you're looking at the cost of development comparatively, Northeast 4th would have a higher cost of development due to the complex site conditions. Over the years, technical innovations may have enabled the creation of peaceful development along the railroad tracks, but it comes at a cost, and that would be a cost that someone would incur, we would incur, or someone else. So, we currently have 533 workforce units in the city of Delray Beach. We expect 60 more coming with Parks of Delray, so we're looking at 593. I would suggest, if this CRA board is really looking to go out and beg or borrow for money, then we should really do an amazing project. And that property on Federal is less expensive, can accommodate more, is on a transit route, has no ingress egress problems, no traffic issues, no stacking issues, and I would suggest to you we do it at the extremely low or low level, because we have a lot of workforce housing coming into the city, but we don't have anywhere for the people that are working at Publix to go. We don't have any really enough low. And I want to just say this. If you go extremely low, right, 0 to 30 AMI, one person making $22,500 could live in those units. A family of 2, $25,700. If you go with a very low category, one person, $37,500 a year. 2 people, $42,850. And so, and if you go to low, it's $60,000 or $68,000. I don't want to do these projects that we've been getting approved, moderate, 80 to 120. One person making $90,000 qualifies for that. That's not what we need to accommodate. We need to accommodate the people who are making well below $90,000, the people making below $60,000 in our city. And if we are truly sitting here saying we are committed to providing affordable housing and we want to do it, then we should be looking to purchase the property on Federal Highway for 15 million, not 2 acres for 20 million. Thank you.
So, real quick, you're comparing a real thing to a hypothetical.
No, it's not hypothetical.
There's-
I talked
we
to the
don't-
owner of the property. It's listed
They've
for
never come here.
15.7.
We don't know if they're actually selling it.
You know what? You had people
This-
approach you.
Excuse me.
This-
No, but I'm saying that's not true.
This was
He has the floor now,
Thi-
please.
We're talking about this property tonight. This is the owner who's willing to sell, who has provided a contract, who has done repeated appraisals. You just threw a property out there that's in a completely different area that we've
It's
never
listed.
analyzed or done due diligence on, that
We
we've
haven't done
never
due
even had
diligence
a
on this.
conversation about up here. I could name all kinds of properties all over the city and be like, yeah, that'd be better. That'd be better for this project for all of these reasons. But like, that's not a real argument because
It
we
is.
don't know
Why aren't you
anything
looking
about
for a
that.
better property?
It
Why
just
do you
feels
wanna
like you're
overpay?
trying to stall on
Sorry.
this.
Let you speak.
You've come up with every excuse in the book to just stall on moving on this project whenever we may have a very limited window to move on any sort of large-scale affordable housing projects in this city. Why would we stall based on just hypothetical other properties that might be better when we have a really good opportunity with this one? And by the way, part of my proposal here, my pitch here, was that we do due diligence, and then we sign a contract, and then we figure out funding before we actually close on it. I'm not saying let's just sign a contract and ignore all of the normal due diligence you would do before signing a contract. At no point have I suggested that. So I hardly suggest that we rush into it, but I do think we need to move while we still have a window where we can do that.
Okay, thank you.
May
Thank
I
you
just
both
say the
for your-
property,
for your-
may I say this? The property is listed online for 15.7. The owner said he would take 15 million. It's a way better property. It's a good opportunity for our residents, and it's a good opportunity for us if this is what we're looking to do.
Thank you.
Ms. Burns.
Commissioner Market.
Yeah, I plowed through this over the weekend and then spent time with Renee yesterday. I want to like this project. It's too big for us. We don't have the budget for a project of this size, scale, and scope. I mean, it's one thing to pay, $19 million for a building, then you got to renovate it. When you plow through the finances of the CRA, this is going to put us in a very scary spot and limit everything else that we can do. So as much as I want to like this, it's too big for us right now. We don't have the financial resources to do this. One man's opinion.
Mayor.
I have some familiarity with this property. Are you talking about the old
Ellie's
Babcock and
Babcock.
Ellie's Diner?
Yeah.
You were talking about actually doing that kind of housing on the entryway of Delray Beach on Federal Highway? Is that
Well,
what you're talking about?
it's already housing. It's
Right,
not
but
the entry.
it's housing at a much higher level, and you're talking about creating. Really, that's your
You're
suggestion?
talking about doing it right in that area where there's
Against
no
railroad
parking.
tracks is a little different than on Federal Highway.
I don't agree.
And you're not in the real estate. You rightly pointed out you're not in the real estate business. I don't know whether we should buy this or not. I don't know if it's too expensive or not. I think if we don't have the money, we shouldn't buy it. If we do have the money, we should look at it. I think that are there other locations? I don't know. I haven't seen any analysis saying how many units we can put there.
Right.
I mean, I'm willing to look at really anything, but I think that against the railroad tracks is always going to be a challenge, and housing with increased density along railroad tracks is typical. It's less typical on the old Babcock site there, the Ellie's Diner site. I know didn't we approve a site plan there?
Yes.
Okay, we approved
For
the site.
housing, and that's why I was saying it's.
Yeah, no,
it's
I
already
understand.
for
I understand.
housing.
I understand the argument about commercial property.
Thank you.
Although, someone could come in under the Live Local Act and do this anyway on this property. So we're going to be losing whether we like it or not, and I hate it because I hate this Live Local Act where they're taking away our industrial and commercial property and doing other stuff with it. I don't like the one they're doing on Congress. There's nothing I can do about it. But the points you bring up good points about environmental issues, but that's what due diligence is all about. I would expect that we would do phase 1 environmental. I would expect we would do all this other kind of stuff on no matter, which I think we do on any property we buy.
Right.
On any, whether it's,
Because of course we do.
yeah, I mean,
Any purchase and sale agreement would certainly have an environmental audit requirement and contingency.
Right.
but do we know how many units we can really do here?
No.
No, we
Well,
don't.
and these are questions that are fair questions.
Right.
So, and I mean, I would strongly urge us not to do 300 units coming into Federal Highway on northbound Federal Highway. We have a traffic problem already, but and I'm not sure that that's the best place to put 300 units. But
could we even, is that even inside of the radius within Live Local, like the 1 mile radius of anything with that density? It's pretty far outside of the downtown core.
Yeah,
I just wonder.
I actually don't know the answer to that question. I actually don't know the answer to that question. So
I'm sorry.
no, those are my thoughts. I mean, we're not voting on anything tonight. So I mean, this is a discussion. So
Ms. Burns, may I say one thing? I was utilizing the number 300 not because that's what I suggest on the property, but merely as a comparison. If Mr. Long is saying 2 acres is potentially 200 units, then you look at 3 acres as potentially 300. Not that I suggest 300.
I would say to you, having done a little real estate in my life, having a big square lot like they have over there on northbound Federal allows for greater density than a very narrow lot.
Correct.
So
Exactly.
I don't think that you would necessarily get 300 there either, but you have a better chance of doing it.
Yeah.
Right. I'm merely saying that was
well,
the
none of it is
calculation.
factual. So I am serious, very serious about affordable housing, and I agree that we need the low and the low. I don't know if Federal Highway is the best place for that as well, for low and low. I do think that this is a great opportunity for us to get this property, but like the mayor, how do we know what we can put on this property? Can we get some sort of analysis? I mean, we received the drawings for the 607. We got some drawings that show us what could potentially go there. I would like to see, what can go there and not guess at 200, 300, whatever. What can we actually, if we get this property, what can we actually put on this property? What's feasible? What's realistic? And, as you say, the due diligence is going to be done. What are the funding options since we don't have this money? So I would like to have some of those kinds of things brought to us. What can actually go there? Is it 200? Is it 190? What is the number? I don't think that even though it may be cheaper if it is for sale, that we can put low and low on Federal Highway.
But could we ask, if we're going to ask Renee to do a study of the one property, could we ask for the other two so we have a comparable?
Sure.
Thank you,
So
Renee.
that we
So
have
if you could do a study of both of those properties and let us know what's possible.
Definitely, yes. So that was going to be one of the recommendations. If we wanted to analyze this further, we can hire an architect and have the architect actually look at the LDRs and what could possibly go at how many units.
I'm sorry, Renee.
That's okay.
I apologize.
No,
The mayor
What's the timeline on sort of analyzing and sort of moving on funding sort of scenarios here? Because we may be under a tight window to do that, before session starts next year, potentially.
Well, right. So I think that the bill, from what I'm gathering just in the last couple hours, the Senate bill, the companion to the House bill, is not being accepted by the Senate. So I think for this year,
it's not being accepted?
it's not.
So they're not
I
going
think
to
we're
act on it
safe
this year.
No, but they're extending session, so we don't know if it's going to be part of the extended session, but I think there's other issues that are around besides our CRA thing. So I think from what I've got, like I said, in the last hour or two, I got notes from the FRA about that. So I think that this year we may be okay. But, we've kind of said, plan for next year. I don't think that it'll go away per se. But for this year, I think we have some time in that sense that the statute will stay as it is. But as far as considering this, we would hire an architect and have them just do an assessment of the LDRs and what could go. And like you said, on both parcels now, we can look at both.
And the mayor is concerned about the low, very low. So could you look at varying levels as well?
Yes.
And do it as,
Commissioner Burns,
it
too,
should
not
be a
just me.
comparable.
Yes.
Okay,
Sure.
yeah, and Ms. Burns,
Sure.
look, not unreasonable, so
Yeah.
make it the comparable of the units, you know, if you're looking at
Yeah.
80 to 120 on that, look at 80 to 120 on
Okay.
the other as well.
Okay, well, we can look at the spectrums, so
Two
the
of
low,
them.
the under 80
Thank
to
you. I
80
appreciate
I would
to
just like to see something to
140.
compare
I
and
agree.
to see what we're investing in. You
Sure.
know, I would love to have this property so that we could get some low and low. And if we are on a timeline because we have to get loans in before a certain date, I mean, time is of the essence. So
Yes. So as far as funding, so we for Northwest Neighborhood, because we've already spoken with the city's bond person about that in conjunction with all the city's other obligations they're putting out for bond, they included us in there because we know this has been a topic that's come up. So we were looking at $40 million of a bond for the Northwest Neighborhood Infrastructure Project. We could probably look at more, but just keep in mind when we're doing these bonds, we have to go for city and county approval. So if you want to package this and other things, we would kind of probably do it all together because I think from what the bond Jay was saying, there's a lot. Like the city has a lot happening, so he's actually processing a lot on the city's end, and we're kind of like tacking on. Although it's us, we would be issuing the debt, and once we do that, the city has to approve us doing that, and also the county. So we would have to kind of go through that process. There is a direct loan option that he presented. I believe that still also has to go to the city and the county since we're pledging future TIF revenue to pay it back. But it would be more expensive. The money would just be more. So we don't have more info on that. He was kind of looking at what happens with session because his understanding was if the bill goes forward, the likelihood of us being able to take out any sort of debt or a bond probably wouldn't happen because there's no certainty of repayment. That was just kind of his rough estimation. But if we have the year now, essentially, or till the end of the year to kind of breathing space, I think we can have some time to look at that. We don't have to like rush necessarily into anything right now.
Well, that's why it's so critical that we do something in the next few months at least on this, because if we get kneecapped next year when this invariably comes back, I would hate to look back and be like, we missed our opportunity to do this.
Right. We'll look at hiring an architect right away. We have people on continuing contracts, so we can go ahead. I don't think it'll rise to the level of us having to come before the board or do any sort of bid for it. We can contact those continuing consultants and have them do something, you know, relatively inexpensive. But at least you all will have materials that we've prepared in hand to be able to assess now both options.
That makes sense. Sounds good.
Thanks, Renee.
Perfect.
Okay.
Thank you.
Are we are other business? Comments by the executive director.
Yes. Okay, well, I already mentioned the CRA bill, so that's exciting news. Hopefully, if it changes, I'll let you all know, but I think we might be okay for now with this bill. So it was definitely a scare, though, so I think, you know, going forward at the FRA, we've talked about trying to engage our legislators in Tallahassee a little bit more, but although I think in Palm Beach County, we have really awesome, strong supporters of CRAs, whereas other places might not. So, well, I'll keep you posted if there's any other guidance or information they have, but I think that was the biggest thing is like some of these legislators don't really understand what CRAs do, and how do we bring them into the fold a little bit more, and I think it's more other areas than us, but I'll let you all keep you in the loop on that. Okay, so we were contacted by Palm Beach County. They are doing a half-day seminar on doing business with Palm Beach County special districts. So they invited CRAs and other special districts to come there or go up there next week to Riviera Beach. So we'll be participating on a panel and discussing what opportunities that our special district has to work with small businesses in Palm Beach County or otherwise. And next, we emailed information about this, but the Florida Leadership Council of Palm Beach County is having the annual Housing Heroes Luncheon. So if anyone would like to attend, please let us know, and we'll purchase a ticket for you. This is always a great event, very, very fun. We're hearing a lot about what's happening in Palm Beach County. There's so much that's happening, and this is the opportunity to share what everyone's doing and learn from others, our colleagues, and what everyone's doing around the county. And we're also participating in the City Small Business Expo, so we wanted to share this for those watching and those who are here to participate. It's really a great event where you have all the different city vendors that are, or city departments that are there, sharing what they do, interacting with the small businesses. So this is part of the City Small Business Initiative. So we wanted to also share that we'll be there and help to spread the word about this so we can have as much participation as possible. And this one I brought up to you all a few times, so I thought I'd bring it up to the board. This is the American Bar Association's Forum on Affordable Housing and Community Development. Their annual conference is in Washington, D.C. I used to go years back. I hadn't gone, I think, since COVID, but I participated on the planning committee for this year and was asked to do a panel on housing and aging, actually. So I'll be participating in this, and I sent this out to the board in case anyone else would like to attend this year. We thought maybe we could have a different conference since the FRA is local this year. We wouldn't be traveling for a conference. So if anyone's interested, I think Commissioner Burns expressed interest in this. I believe there's a city commission meeting that week, so might have to look at those dates. But if anyone is interested, just please let us know. The window to register is closing, I think, in a couple days. So we need to figure out if anyone else is interested so we can get you signed up. So.
That'd be very interesting. That would be a really very interesting conference.
It is. I've gone.
They bring in a lot of the federal programs.
Yes, they have great publications in this forum, so it's a really good conference. So.
I don't know that I can do it.
All right, and update on the West Atlantic Master Plan, otherwise known as the Set Transformation Plan. So we've been having meetings with some of the community members. Commissioner Burns has participated in the meetings as well about the update to the plan. So we're at the point where we would like to do a public meeting. We're doing this at the library on May 28th from 5:30 to 7:30. This is the first of our couple public meetings that we'll do to get community input. I think at this meeting, the biggest focus is to share what's been done in the plan and just allow the community to give feedback on that and then discuss next steps. We are also looking at hiring a consultant to help us draft the plan. If you remember when we first did this, the costs were coming back really high, so we broke it up a little bit so it wouldn't be so large, which I think worked out really well. We did the demographics of the study already. We took the time ourselves to dig through the plan page by page with community members without the consultants there yet. And now we're ready to bring them in because I think we're at the point where we want to start drafting and getting this finalized, hopefully before the end of the year. So if you're available, please attend and participate, but you'll probably see updates from us starting to come out after that public meeting because now we're at that point where we're ready to start drafting. That's all I have.
Well,
thank you.
Thank you. Board Attorney.
Yes, ma'am. I'll be very brief. 2 items I'd like to bring to your attention. I think you do appreciate the outcome of the litigation, but I want to publicly compliment the defense counsel. I mean, I was very familiar with the facts, the contract. I think they presented a concise case. And when you go to court, 2 things happen. One of them is bad, but the other. So it's good to win. And to that extent, I think a great deal of credit goes to your executive director who shepherded the CRA through that difficult time with BH3 and really assisted with the trial and helped select a very competent defense counsel. Last, I just want to say thank you for the approval of the Second Amendment. It's my pleasure to represent the premier CRA in the state of Florida, and you all are just an excellent opportunity to continue to grow as a lawyer. So thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Commissioners.
Nothing?
No, I would say thank you as well. And just,
You were there.
Because that was tough. That jury, it was hard to read that jury.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, $1. I mean, I got to tell you,
We're going to have the collection plate.
Is that in the budget?
We got to see. It's going to be tight.
I wanted to take up a collection.
Okay. Well, I just wanted to just say thank you. Just so happy to, I wasn't there to testify or anything, but my shoulders were relieved after I got that phone call. It's like, BH3, my neck's been crooked for a long time. So that was great news. And I also wanted to know if we could reconsider, I can't remember exactly, we talked about the kitchen on Northwest 5th Avenue as being a shared kitchen. I wanted to know if we could consider having that to be an option of a commercial kitchen as well. How does that work?
Yes, so
I think we would have more options. See what we get, more proposals or whatever.
So we'd have to bring it back on the agenda because at the last meeting we voted to issue it was the 102 Northwest 5th Avenue to have that to go out for basically a bid or request proposals for commercial kitchen space. So if you wanted
we did say commercial?
We said commercial kitchen, but if you're looking at options of doing something else, we'd have to bring it back onto the
I
agenda.
think commercial is what I was asking for.
It's
So
well, a
that-
shared kitchen space. It's a shared
Shared?
commercial kitchen space. That's what the board directed us to do. But if you want to reconsider that, we can bring it back next month.
Let me just get a better understanding of
Okay.
what that means, and I'll talk to you offline for that.
Okay,
about-
no problem.
About that, okay.
But the potential, so there potential would come back next month.
Okay.
Just so that the board is okay with that, so.
Okay. All right, we're good? We're good? Great, meeting's adjourned. Thank you. Good night. Oh my God, y'all made me go 2 hours and 15 minutes. They loaded the agenda on my first day.
Oh, great.